Elephants are one of the largest land mammals on our planet. Even the smallest of them weighs about 2 tons and measures more than 2.5 meters at the shoulder. But despite their size, elephants are afraid of something that seems quite ridiculous: bees. Yes, these tiny insects seem to be nothing to be afraid of, but only until you get stung by them hundreds of times. That's what scares elephants so much. They don't want to feel that kind of pain again. In today's video, you'll find out why the largest animals on the planet are afraid of a bee sting. Why does just the thought of bees make elephants panic? And most importantly, how do bees manage to make an elephant run away? How do bees deal with an elephant? The elephant's greatest fear lies in the painful stings of bees. Although an elephant's skin is thick and leathery, it doesn't protect it from insect stings. If a few bees decide to sting an elephant, it will be painful for sure. But if an entire swarm attacks it, then it's going to be really bad. As you probably know, bees usually nest in flowers, trees, or bushes. However, sometimes these insects can be found in places that are not very pleasant for them. This means that when elephants pass by, they can accidentally crush a beehive, which often provokes a swarm to attack. If this happens, hundreds of angry bees immediately rush to the aid of their fellows. They begin to sting the elephant in the most sensitive areas, for example, in the eyes, on the trunk, or inside the ears. Once stung, the elephant feels a sharp, excruciating pain. The wound begins to burn and itch. It gets swollen and becomes covered with pus. If the insect has stung the elephant in the eye, it will hurt even more. Imagine how much an elephant suffers when hundreds of bees attack it at once. It's hard to say exactly where it hurts an elephant the most. Perhaps the worst thing is being stung in the trunk. After all, with its trunk, an elephant breathes, smells, drinks water, picks up food, and communicates. So imagine how difficult it is for the elephant to breathe when its trunk is burning and swollen after a bee sting. It's extremely painful. Moreover, an elephant won't be able to eat or drink because the trunk is sore and it will be hard to move on. An elephant can't express its pain, but if it could, it would probably scream because hundreds of bees stinging it at once is incredibly painful. But if a swarm of bees attacks an elephant, it doesn't just hurt, it's dangerous. The elephant may go into anaphylactic shock. Its throat will swell, making it difficult to breathe, and if help doesn't arrive in time, the elephant may die. Well, fortunately, such cases are extremely rare. Most likely, elephants react so violently to bees because they have had enough experience of being attacked by them in the wild. Over the years of their existence, they've learned what danger the bees pose, so now they try to stay away from them. One bee sting may not bother an elephant too much, but hundreds of stings in different places will definitely make it suffer. An elephant instinctively tries to get rid of the bees as quickly as possible. To do this, it uses its trunk to fan itself, waving its ears and trying to extinguish the flames with water from its mouth. The elephant runs frantically through the forest, hoping to get away from the annoying bees. Even the memory of a bee attack can make an elephant go crazy. If the giant heard the buzzing of bees, it would begin to panic. No matter how ridiculous it may sound, the elephant simply runs away from the bees, although it's thousands of times bigger than them. Once upon a time, a bee swarm attacked a young elephant. It was so frightened that it ran into the river and stayed there for several days. When the adult elephants in the herd noticed that the young elephant was missing, they began to look for it. They were looking for it everywhere, but couldn't find it. Several days later, the herd found the elephant in the river. The bees had already stung it so badly that it went deaf. Fortunately, the bees eventually lost interest in the elephant and left it alone. The adult elephants tried to drive the young one out of the water, but it didn't want to leave. It stayed there for another 2 weeks until its ears and trunk finally stopped hurting. And only after that did the elephant rejoin the herd. You should also check out another video, Why Rhinos Are Afraid of Bees. Rhinos are afraid of bees for the same reason as elephants. Bee stings are very painful, and when hundreds of bees attack a rhino, it's completely helpless. And here's an interesting fact. Sometimes beehives attack not only elephants and rhinos, but also lions. You may think that no bee swarm is capable of dealing with a lion. After all, it's a huge predator that can easily kill a hippopotamus. However, even a lion runs away from bees. It's believed that bees can attack a lion if it's lying somewhere near the beehive and accidentally touches it while walking. If this happens, the bees immediately attack the lion and the predator flees. Lions try to avoid meeting bees, and rightly so. People also sometimes suffer from bee attacks. However, they don't run away but fight back. And sometimes people win. For example, there was a case in Brazil when a man riding a motorcycle collided with a beehive hanging over the road. The man fell to the ground and began to beat the bees. He punched, kicked, and even bit the insects. It took about 40 minutes before he managed to get rid of them. The man was taken to the hospital with serious injuries, but he survived. If a bee swarm attacks an elephant, it will run away. But sometimes the bees follow it, continuing to sting it. Do elephants have any chance to escape the bees? Can they defend themselves? Unfortunately, no. Despite their size, elephants can't do anything against the bees. They don't have weapons that could drive the bees away. Their tusks are good for dealing with other animals, but they're useless against bees. The only way for an elephant to escape a bee swarm is to run away. And if it manages to do that, it will never forget that feeling. Therefore, even the memory of a bee attack will be enough to make the elephant run away. Do you think an elephant can defend itself against bees? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Farmers in Africa often have to deal with elephants. They destroy the crops, trampling them under their feet. People tried everything to keep the elephants away, but only when they came up with the idea of installing beehives along the fence, they got some success. It's funny, but elephants don't like beehives. They're afraid that the bees will attack them. That's why the fields protected by bees suffered much less from elephant attacks. There are several bee species in Africa, but it's best to use the Africanized honeybee, also known as the killer bee. These bees are very aggressive. They attack anyone who invades their territory, including elephants. So the fields protected by killer bees are safe, not only from elephants, but also from other large animals. Of course, it's impossible to fence off a whole field with beehives, so farmers usually put up a few hives at the corners and entrances. Seeing the beehives, the animals immediately leave the field. They know that if they stay there, they'll have to endure hundreds of painful stings. In addition to scaring animals away, beehives have another advantage. The bees pollinate plants, which means the harvest will be much better. All the stories about elephants' fear of bees are confirmed by experts. However, some researchers believe that elephants are afraid not only of bees, but also of wasps. But this is not entirely true. Wasps and bees belong to different families. Bees are known to be less aggressive, and they only attack if they feel threatened. Wasps are more aggressive, but they only attack if someone touches them or their nest. But in any case, it's better not to mess with them. If a wasp stings an elephant, it will hurt no less than a bee sting. And if it's a nest of yellow jackets, the elephant will have to endure hundreds of painful stings. Yellow jackets are considered the most aggressive wasps in the world. A single yellow jacket sting is like a bee sting, but if dozens of these wasps attack an elephant, it will be difficult for it to escape. Most likely, the elephant will run away. After all, it's better to run away from trouble than to suffer. We hope you enjoyed today's video. All the most interesting facts about animals are yet to come. See you soon. Bye.